There are playoff losses you can accept. They hurt, they sting, but you understand them. The opponent was better, executed better, took advantage of opportunities. And then there are losses that feel different. Losses that leave a bitter, heavy, almost embarrassing taste behind. The Philadelphia Eagles' elimination against the San Francisco 49ers falls squarely into that second category, because losing 23-19 at home in the playoffs is already painful. But losing while scoring just 19 points, with the most expensive offense in the entire NFL against the worst defense among all playoff teams, completely changes the conversation. This is no longer bad luck. It's no longer about small details. It's no longer, we were close. It's offensive failure. The Eagles' season ended right there, at Lincoln Financial Field, in front of their own fans. It didn't end because of a lack of talent. It didn't end because of a lack of investment. It ended because this team could not turn all of that into production when it mattered most. 19 points. That number will haunt this franchise throughout the entire offseason. When you invest more money in offense than any other team in the league, the expectation isn't perfection, it's decisiveness. It's answering when the game tightens. It's capitalizing on opportunities created by the defense. And that simply did not happen. The contrast becomes even more brutal when you look at the other side of the ball. The defense, even without playing a flawless game, did enough. It forced 2 turnovers. It intercepted Brock Purdy twice. It gave the offense short fields. It gave them real chances to take control of the game. Chances that, in the playoffs, are usually rare. And the offense wasted almost all of them. That was the story of the game. An offense that looked stuck, predictable, without rhythm, without creativity, and perhaps most concerning of all, without conviction. It did not look like a group that fully believed in what it was doing. It looked like an offense playing with the brakes on, afraid to make mistakes, without a clear identity. You can't pin this on one single play, one drop, or one isolated mistake. This was a pattern that repeated itself all season long and finally exploded at the most important moment of the year. The opening drive briefly offered hope, a quick response to the 49ers' opening touchdown. Movement, tempo, creative play calling, and a smart touchdown with Dallas Goedert taking a handoff at the goal line. For a few minutes, it felt like the offense had finally found the right tone. But even there, a warning sign appeared. The missed extra point. Small signs. Small cracks that, in January, tend to become massive problems. As the game went on, the issues piled up. Questionable decisions on third down, predictable runs in obvious situations, missed reads by the quarterback, penalties at critical moments that killed promising drives. The offense constantly seemed to be working against itself. Even when the defense did its job, the offense failed to respond. In the third quarter, after an interception that could have completely flipped the game and changed the momentum, the Eagles managed to produce -9 yards on 3 plays. -9. After a defensive takeaway in a home playoff game. That is unacceptable at any level, especially for the most expensive offense in the NFL. The feeling was unmistakable. This team did not trust itself offensively. It didn't trust the playbook. It didn't trust the execution. And in the biggest moments, it didn't even trust its own identity. Every snap seemed filled with hesitation, as if one mistake would doom everything. And in the end, it did. That's where the decisions become even heavier when viewed through the final result. In the fourth quarter, facing a 4th and 3 at the 49ers' 15-yard line, Nick Sirianni opted for a field goal. In isolation, it's not an outrageous decision. But in the context of that game, that offense, and that moment, it felt like a public vote of no confidence. Those would be the final points the Eagles scored all season, and that says everything. Because in a home playoff game, with momentum and belief on the line, the head coach did not trust his offense to convert a short 4th down for a touchdown. He chose 3 points. He chose survival. And survival is rarely enough in January. On the other sideline, Kyle Shanahan was aggressive, creative, confident. He called plays that attacked space. He used trick plays at the right time. He put his players in position to succeed when the game was tight. The 49ers offense wasn't more expensive. It wasn't more star-studded, but it was more functional when it mattered most. That contrast hurts even more when you remember that the Eagles rested starters in Week 18 specifically to arrive fresh for the playoffs. They essentially created an artificial bye week. All of that planning had one goal: being ready for this game. And the offense produced 19 points. There are no good excuses for that. Yes, there were key drops. Yes, there were obvious individual mistakes. Yes, Saquon Barkley had a painful drop on third down. Yes, Jalen Hurts missed important reads at critical moments. But when all of that happens together in a big game, the problem stops being individual. It becomes structural. Kevin Patullo cannot escape scrutiny here. The offensive plan was rigid, with very little adjustment as the game unfolded. There was a failure to consistently exploit the 49ers' defensive weaknesses, a failure to create mismatches, and most importantly, a failure to adapt when the initial plan wasn't working. But it would be far too simplistic to place all of the blame on the offensive coordinator. Patullo is a direct choice of Nick Sirianni. He is the head coach's right-hand man. He is someone Sirianni trusted to lead the offense of a team that believed it was ready to repeat as champions. When the offense collapses like this, responsibility moves up the chain of command, and the fan base understands that. That's why the frustration runs so deep, because this wasn't unexpected. All season long, this offense was inconsistent. It disappeared in certain games. It strung together long stretches of 3-and-outs at the worst possible times. It struggled to close games even when the defense delivered. In the playoffs, those flaws don't vanish. They get magnified. The defense gave the offense one final chance. One last breath. 2 minutes on the clock. Enough time. The stadium still believed, but the script repeated itself. Pressure. Incompletions. Another drop on fourth down. And just like that, it was over. Not just the game, but the illusion that this offense was one small adjustment away from another championship run. Perhaps the hardest part of this elimination is that it offers no comfort. You can't say, it was bad luck. You can't say, we were close. You can't say, we're right there. It forces hard decisions and honest evaluations. Now comes a heavy offseason, an offseason full of uncomfortable questions, serious evaluations of the coaching staff, real assessments of the offensive system, deep conversations about leadership, philosophy, and identity. Because when the most expensive offense in the NFL scores 19 points against the worst defense in the playoffs at home, it's not just a loss, it's a warning sign, a clear signal that something needs to change. Whether that change comes in leadership, philosophy, play calling, or mental preparation for big games, what cannot happen is pretending this was just another stumble. It wasn't. This game was the summary of an entire season, an offense that never found consistency, a team that tightened up under pressure, a coaching staff that hesitated instead of attacking when it mattered most. And that stays with you. It stays with the fans. It stays in the building. It stays in the decisions that will be made in the coming weeks. The Eagles had everything they needed to go further: roster, talent, experience, investment. But in January, what decides games isn't contract value. It's the courage to execute when the moment demands it. And on Sunday, that was missing. 19 points. That will be the phrase that defines this elimination. Not just the final score, not just the opponent, but the brutal contrast between expectation and reality. And now, the franchise has no choice but to face that truth head on, because ignoring it would mean repeating the same mistake.